Hi, good day, everybody, and welcome to the Vision 2022 discussions. I'll start this conversation by quoting two of the very senior and eminent leaders of today's time, Satya Nadella and Andy Jassy. Satya says that the tech spending as a percentage of GDP is expected to double in the next 2 years. He says the present spending is around 5%, and it is expected to go up to about 10% of the GDP of every country, which means about $20 trillion worth of spending on technology is expected in the next 10 years. And he says less than 5% of the global IT spend is in the cloud at the moment. And that is going to substantially change. And that we all know. Every company that we know of is one, doing a digital transformation. And second, the next step is that they're moving to the cloud. Now, with the rapid pace of increase in technology, is also increasing the vulnerabilities that we see in them. The security tools and the hardening is not just able to catch up. Ransomware attacks have surged almost 300% in the last year, and businesses being attacked almost every 10 to 11 seconds. Ransomware is not specific to a company. They are crippling the healthcare systems. They're shutting down the fuel supplies, shopping, establishments, manufacturing establishments. So bad a state that the president of the US had to issue a presidential order in case of a gas pipeline attack. The ransomware demands have increased 50 million, and the cost of recovery, you're not able to recover these things, even if you pay these ransoms. And the cost of recovery is about 10 times that cost. The cyber crimes are going to cost governments roughly $10 trillion USD by 2025. The threat is real, it is financial, and therefore all the boards are bolstering their budgets. A report suggests that 76% of the organizations in India at least suffered one ransomware attack in the last 12 months. So, with this as backdrop, let me introduce the eminent panelist and very, very close friends. Kumar Ravi, he's CISO of Teleperformance India, and Unique Kumar, he is Group CISO of CK Birla Group. Welcome, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Amit.
Hi. Morning, Amit. Morning, Unique.
Morning, Ravi.
So to start our conversation, let me start with Ravi. In the context of India, Ravi, how widespread is the ransomware nuisance, and what is the financial impact that you see businesses facing? And just to add on, is it true that it is not a case of if, but when you will face an attack?
Sure. I think very rightly said, and Amit, you said the very right context, and I think I would say, in continuation to the ransomwares, particularly, that if we call 2021 again a year of ransomware, I think it would not be an exaggeration, and it's so much true for India as well, as we are talking in the context of India. The report says although the number of attacks in Indian organizations reduced in 2021 as compared to 2020, but India is still, the third most attacked country in the Asia Pacific, and probably, fifth in the world. And while ransomware attacks have declined as per these statistics in India, but I think they are becoming more sophisticated and targeted. So I think another set of facts as per the reports, if you read, it says that India tops the list of top 30 countries for ransomware attacks. So we are at top of that, especially when it comes to ransomware. And a little bit different statistics as to what quoted, but yeah, I think roughly still around 70% of Indian organizations that were surveyed, they were hit by ransomware, and which is like a staggering figure. And if you talk about actually making the payment for the ransomware, 67% of organizations actually paid the ransomware too, out of which which got hit by it. And if you compare it with a global average of companies who pay the ransomware if they get attacked, I think the global average is 32%. So we are, I think, at least double of the global average in terms of when it comes to making the payments. So that's the state of affairs as we gather. And I think definitely it's not a case of if, but a case of when. If you talk about even the previous examples of WannaCry, I think we were the third worst hit nation in the globe. If you talk about Mirai botnet malware attack, we were kind of in the we had probably 2.5 million overall devices that were impacted by that. And again, India was in one of the top 10s when you talk about the Patia ransomware. So I think definitely India is in one of the top quartile if you talk about if ransomware is a problem. So I think yes, organizations need to step up in order to combat it. This is probably definitely the time. You cannot just sit back and relax. Coming on to the financial impact of it, if I talk about the smaller organization, one of the reports and statistics says across the industry that 60% of the small businesses will go out of the business after a successful attack within 6 months of it occurring. So it has got that severe impact on the organization, because small organization may not be able to kind of sustain either the kind of, I would say, demands of the ransom that comes, or even if they pay, the loss of trust in the organization goes down severely. So it's not only a financial impact directly, but indirectly through the impact on your reputation and kind of your readiness against cyber attacks. So I think if I talk about financial impact from a point of view of making the ransom payment, I think you also rightly touched upon, in most of the cases, making the ransom payment is actually cheaper than not paying it, because of the operational downtime that you get. I think is the factor that you have to weigh in. In most of the cases, or not most, I would say in one of the cases, which was probably an extreme comparison, if you pay the ransom, it was actually 1/40th of what could have been the potential impact for not paying it. So maybe $500,000 versus 20 million. So if you pay $500,000, you can actually avoid 20 million kind of a downtime that would occur if you don't pay for it, and if you go out of business and all those things. So all those things come into play, and that's where organizations also sometimes need to kind of weigh in. Although there are regulations coming in countries, there has been talks in the industry which talks about that should we really be making the ransomware payment illegal, so that the threat actors also discouraged from trying into it, because thinking that it's not an option anymore. So yes, I think it's a complex growing area, needs to be dealt with.
A lot of data points in this Ravi and Kumar, and I'm really glad you shared those points, because these are amazing. Now, some insight that I can get out of this, when you say only 32% of the global companies pay ransom and 67 in India pay ransom. So coming to you, Unique, uh, carrying on with the same question, and I would like to hear your views as well, because you represent a huge dimension of the sector in India, manufacturing, to products, FMCG, and to the software industry. Uh, what are your views on this as far as the ransomware is concerned? And one add-on question that I would like to put is, since we are in India paying more ransom as a volume of the total attacks, are we less prepared than the rest of the world?
Sure, Amit. So I agree with the point of Ravi, because these are the reports which generally we also discuss in several forums. And this is true that the ransomware attacks are increasing day by day. So ransomware itself is a scary word. And in today's world, when we are totally dependent upon the internet, on the mobile apps, we are expecting delivery in 10 minutes. That is how the new companies are claiming, the startups are claiming. This is happening with the digital transformation. And if someone takes out the liberty and make us prisoner and asking for ransom, there is no choice even. And it is really a bad or the worst situation. There are several reports available, as Ravi has already pointed out, that attacks are increasing day by day. And I believe there are two types of companies. One, those got breached or attacked or paid the ransom or had a ransomware attack. Those who are not aware of, or that could be breached in next couple of months, couple of weeks, or couple of years. And India is not behind about that. The impact is, financial impact is obviously there, but apart from that, there's a brand reputation which also impacted with the ransomware attack. There is also a data trust which the customer has, the digital trust we're talking about. the personal branding of the CXOs when this kind of attack happened, and there are legal consequences and the consequences which has to bear. So India is not behind that, and the attacks are increasing day by day.
Great, Unique. That actually brings up another interesting fact. When you said people are ready to deliver items in 10 minutes, now there will be lot of systems that will be interconnected. The application of the service provider to the database of the company which is selling these products, and that just increases the scope of or the impact of attack if that happens. With that in mind, Kumar, back to you. With that, the range which just exponentially increases. We talk about lateral movement of a ransomware in a company. Now we are looking at lateral movement of the ransomware between multiple companies because of this integration. And more people paying ransom. I'm still saying that, are we less prepared? But coming to that, let's move to little technical stuff. What are the latest trends and technologies, the techniques that you see in the present day attacks? And with those, is it impacting the scope and the impact that we were talking about? Kumar.
Sure. Sure. I know I was just unmuting myself. Yeah. So I think, yes, I think ransomware, particularly if I say this as an industry, and if I don't mind calling it an industry now, that considering, the kind of ecosystem it has developed, in itself, it has evolved a lot, and it has matured to a very large extent. And attackers have also now realized that certain approaches, I'll not say tools or techniques, but overall approaches, they will yield a better, I would say, financial gains to them, and they focus on those approaches. As of today, if I talk about technically, there are close to 300 vulnerabilities that are associated with ransomware now. So, which means, there are at least approximately 300 known ways in which, probably a ransomware can, really exploit the company, including the 0 days. The latest trends and approaches, if I talk about, I think as we have already seen, it's not very recent. I think it's been there for quite some time, is ransomware as a service. You don't need to be really, kind of developing your own ransomware. There are like, pay as you go kind of model. So, you just need to hook up to the right platform, and maybe, it's at your disposal. So I think you really don't need to be, that techie to really do it yourself. Supply chain attacks is another trend that has come in associated with ransomwares as well. So rather than attacking, one organization, spending time on one, I think if you choose a approach of supply chain, maybe in one go, you can probably affect 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 organizations, and then you can choose your victims, high profile victims out of that, where to target. So I think that's another trend that has been seen lately. Second, again, I would say the third one is, I call it like foolproofing. People call it like, double ransomware. So what it means is that, you not only encrypt the data, but also steal it. All right, because the data in some cases may be restored, but if you have stolen the data, there is always a threat that it can be leaked outside. So the control is still in the hands of the adversary, and I think it's a pretty common sense, and hence very widely adopted by the hackers nowadays. So this foolproofing is definitely there in time. Then I would say the ransomware attacks are no longer spray and pray. I'm interested when I said no longer means, yes, they are there, but I think additional focus is making it very specialized and focused. The adversary would typically study the organization very well. He would or she would like to study the sweet spot of the organization. What is the financial, capacity of the organization to pay? So an adversary definitely knows, what harm can I, kind of put to the organization, and in that return, what amount can I expect? So it definitely gives an edge also to the adversary, that when he or she kind of tries to negotiate. I think these are the latest trends that I'll see that are happening. And then coming again back to the technical side of it, I think phishing has still been one of the more frequently seen ways of injecting the malwares, which further lead to ransomware. So phishing as a technique, and hence email security is definitely an important area yet. A good EDR on the endpoints, again, as goes from a I would say defensive approach side of it is very important to raise the early red flags. I think these are the latest trends in the ransom industry that I see.
Unique, anything that you see something different?
I totally agree with Ravi. So, first of all, one point which I was always emphasis on, the organization understand that cybersecurity is not limited to monitoring the firewalls, configuring the policies, governance. And one of the fact is that AI or RPS cannot replace the humans, because there is one very important element in the complete any of the breach. It could be ransomware, it could be DDoS, whatever it is a human. So according to me, that is the weakest link. And if any of the employee click on the malicious link, which can lead to a ransomware attack as well. So one interesting fact which I have seen from past few months, I would say, we all know that information security market is very hot. Especially the youngsters are getting a lot of offers in their hands, and a multiple offer, I would say, and it is very difficult to have any youngster on a board, because the number is also multiplexed when they have the offer. On the other side, what I noticed that hackers have also studied using that technique, wherein they interview these people for their company, right? And they ask, like, what kind of systems do you have, what kind of environment do you have, how frequent you patch the vulnerability, what are the open vulnerability, so what you take action for the databases which are out of support, how do you monitor that, the complete ecosystem. They take the complete understanding from that, and based on that, the attack started. So that is one of the way which I have found, and which can lead to major issues as well. So if all the information is available, the hacker prepare a database and the game is over.
Fantastic. This is, this is a new technique that I've not heard of seriously, and fantastic. What I had heard of interestingly was some of these hacker groups were offering money for clicking on phishing links. With the results that come out, financial results, and all, large companies are having almost 25% attrition, which is saying that people probably are either going in for money or they're not happy with something.
Uh,
Now we keep talking about those controls on UEBA, etc. But this is something which is very, very strange. If it comes up, the hackers offering $1 million just to click on a link, or they're even paying you 20% of the ransom that they receive. Now this is a nightmare.
yeah, it's a nightmare.
And
I agree,
and
totally agree.
and coming to Kumar, you mentioned about the supply chain. There are recently semantic software being shown that it is having a crypto miner. Now it could be a malicious thing, it could be some other news item created, but these threats are real that we see. So fantastic. Thanks a lot, guys. Keep taking cognizance of the time. Let us move a little fast. Just two more quick thoughts, and we should try to cover both of them considering the time part. What are the best practices that you guys are following? We all are having, most of the companies are having multi-cloud. What are the best practices and strategies for spotting these attacks early on in the attack life cycle? Kumar, let's start with you again on this.
Okay. Sure. So I think if I get the question right, Amit, the question is like, in the multi-cloud era, how do we kind of, do an early spotting of those? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think with cloud, the largest challenge that I see from cybersecurity, whatever be the kind of threat, is the visibility of the inventory, right? So I think it all starts with having the right visibility, because unless you can count, you can't control and manage. So I think having a good visibility on the overall architecture of the cloud that your organization has adopted, because most of the time it is a catch-up game for the security organization as to what has really been productionized, not as a like new cloud instance, but even to the extent of new payloads being spinned up without the knowledge, and maybe sometime even without the due diligence, as claimed and as discussed in the industry forums with the colleagues. So I think first of all, having kind of all your systems at par with the kind of on-prem strategy and model from a security readiness perspective is very important. Again, having all the kind of of detective measures that you have in the organization as per your information security strategy of the organization, they all should be there. I think like any other threat, even for the ransomwares or any other kind of cyber attacks, a good EDR solution always helps you, for especially where it supports. Believe me, I think EDR, those organizations who do not have an EDR today, I think I'm sure they are definitely having a very high, more probable risk of being, kind of exploited. And when I talk about EDR, I think go for the best in the, class. This is the best defense nowadays, which I'm very confident and proud of saying that yes, organization should have. So I think having a good EDR in place is definitely the key. It sits very close, and then having those good, I would say, security correlation engines, or nowadays industries moving to XDR and MDR kind of a platform. I think that's a kind of must, because practically you can't fight today's fight with the tools of the yesterday, as they say, right? So I think having a good integrated view of the attack channels, adopting to XDR, EDRs kind of solutions is again a good strategy to identify it early, and make sure you have a good visibility, like I said, of your whole inventory, because if something goes out of sight, you never know, that could be your weak area where an attacker could perpetrate inside and then move inside. So I think that's what is my stand on the cloud part particularly.
I'll just add that maybe a proactive approach, and I think that you were hinting on a proactive approach to your asset management is also very, very crucial. That
Yeah,
you
very
know
well.
what we
That's what I
own,
meant.
we are
Thanks.
creating, and be prepared and be a little ahead of the infrastructure creation.
Yeah.
We come to the last part of our discussion, and what I would like to just, and I'll take this to Unique first. Uh, in addition to all these tools, technologies, tech part that we were talking about, what are your views about engaging the other third parties? The legal advisors, the marketing advisors, insurance, PR experts, when you're talking about ransomware resilience?
Very valid question, Amit. I think this should be a part of the comprehensive incident management process and the exercise, wherein you have a complete Bible available, and this Bible has a buying from all the stakeholders, that who will do what during the time of ransomware. It is divided according to me in two parts. One is the technical activities, wherein your information security, your infra team, your application team has to handle. Second is the non-technical piece, wherein your leadership plays a role and take a step forward and say, okay, let's do this, and have a proper stakeholder management in place. And then the communication to your customers, communication to the employees. So that is how it should be, look like. So and one of the important thing, I think, this companies also have the the companies who have the incident management process also missing the the regular meetings or regular cyber table talk exercise, which is also very important and plays an important role in the complete chain.
Great, Unique. So I think in any of the cyber risk insurance, discussions that you have with brokers or the companies, they will take you in a direction where you speak to, PR agencies, marketing agencies, legal experts, and you need all the help across the globe. We are uh, sitting where we do businesses at most of the places where we do not even have offices, but the jurisdiction of those countries will apply. Ravi, very quick input on these points. We just have 2 minutes more. On you, yours is a global company, and your inputs on legal marketing advice that you have for cyber insurance or non-technical stuff to mitigate this.
Right, Amit, thanks. So I think all are very crucial, I would say, stakeholders to manage proactively and, kind of have, good tie-ups with all. When it comes to legal advisors, yes, I think, when you get into a situation, I think a lot of client attorney privilege kind of, chain starts off. You need to have right insurance partner, you need to have right investigator who has been, kind of recommended by or approved by, your cyber insurance. All those things come into play. You have to have already a crisis management plan in place which takes care of PR part of it, and all these things, that we are talking about, they all go as a preparatory step and have to be kind of, well thought through, planned, kind of run through as a tabletop exercise. So I think, considering like it's not a matter of if and when, I think you never know when you might need to have it. So I think be ready with all that stuff is definitely the advice, Amit, in short.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kumar. Thank you, Unique. It was a great conversation. It is always good to connect and talk about these things. Uh, Great insights, and I hope the audience also have picked up some things that they can do to improve their cyber resilience. Thanks a lot, everybody, and I just hope that everybody is safe, stay safe, and stay positive in this environment, whichever viral attack it is, COVID or ransomware. Have a nice day, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Amit, so much. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you, Amit. Thanks, Unique. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good day.